Hi there, this is Matt with State of Flux, here with a review for Anyone But You. This is a film that recently dropped on Netflix after having a very strong theatrical run in the box office, which is a rarity in the sense that this is a comedy film, a straight comedy, an R-rated one, no less. And the interesting thing about that is, for the past decade or so, a little more than, comedies haven't really been successful. You've gotten the odd one or two, but largely they haven't been delivering. Even earlier in the year, there was the movie No Hard Feelings, which failed to really take a hold. But this one was different. This one, similar to things like movies like Clueless or 10 Things I Hate About You, adapted an old piece of literature. This point was Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing. So if you've seen Much Ado, this is a more vapid version of that. That said, I found myself enjoying this. I enjoyed that the comedy largely lands. It's elevated by two charismatic leads who are doing their best to thirst trap you into continuing to watch. There is a flaw in that, and I'll address that more towards the end. But largely, the film works. There are some really stupid scenes, like the scene where she discovers his Serenity song on the airplane is one of the stupidest things I've seen in cinema in recent years. And yes, I have seen Morbius and Madam Web and Venom for that matter. That said, there's large chunks in the movie that do work, and they work using tried and true methods from William Shakespeare. But it was strong. The raunchy nature of the comedy kind of worked. But more than anything, I just enjoyed seeing comedy that is purely that. I think in the past 10-ish years, we've largely been training ourselves not to respond to comedy. We haven't been going to comedy films. We've been making far less of them. And the comedy that we get in our mainstream films, in our horror films, action movies, has gotten to the point where we've trained ourselves so much not to respond to comedy that when we see it, we cite it as being cringe. And I don't think that's necessarily true or be fair to label any comedy, it seems, as cringy. But that's just something that I've seen. So seeing a film that actually hit with its target audience, which was, broad comedy, anybody can go see this as long as they're of age, and it seemed to connect with them. As I stated before, I think a lot of that has to do with the thirst-trappy nature of Glen Powell and Sweeney. And some people have been really diminutive towards her specifically, and I don't think that's fair to her. She's perfectly serviceable in this. She has strong comedic chops at times. It just seems like people don't like her all of a sudden, and I don't understand why that is. I haven't watched anything that she's been in besides this and Madam Web and the first season of White Lotus, and I thought she was fine in all of the above. So, that being said, the biggest issue this film has is it's incredibly male-gazy, and that's something that I didn't respond well to. And I think that's an easy criticism to hurl at this film that's earned and valid. Most of the other things that people are saying negatively about this seem to be aimed at her, or the fact that the characters are really non-existent. It's look at the source material, look at Much Ado. The characters found within the performance. It's not necessarily that these characters are really well-rounded. Yet we elevate that work because it is Shakespeare, and I don't think it's one of Shakespeare's strongest works, but it's not a bad one by any stretch of the imagination. And I think hurling that criticism towards this is it uses and utilizes the exact same format of finding character through performance that had. So that didn't seem to hold much water for me. But I like this movie, and I would like to see more comedies. I hope that we can retrain ourselves as audience goers to accept comedy that's not in the format of a 20-minute sitcom, because it's truly becoming a lost genre, and I don't want to see comedies to go the way of the musical or the western. I want to see them come back vibrantly so. Comedy is an important form of storytelling. In fact, when we break it down, truthfully, there's drama and comedy are the two honest forms of storytelling, and then emergent within that is like fantasy and horror, and they're like umbrellas that they kind of cover and cross over with. But the necessity to have comedy has always been prevalent, and we've been losing that. So let's work to regain that by supporting films like this one. And if you support stuff like this one, you'll start seeing better ones emerge, because the confidence will be there that an audience will come to make a comedy, they'll start taking more chances, and you'll see the rebirth of a genre that really took hold of cinema for, like, honestly, ever. But like, I'm imagining that the filmic landscape that we have now, back in even like 2005 when Judd Apatow was just emerging, or in the 90s, or certainly the 80s where they were popping out those police academy movies left and right, is like unfathomable that we'd get to a point where there's like 2 to 3 straight comedies aimed at a wide audience a year, and that's it. That's just wild. So let's see that change. And the numbers have been really good on Netflix from my understanding, so I would imagine you will start to see a little bit more of that. Hopefully they're good, or hopefully even better than this film, and we can see more of them. I give this film a soft 3 stars. It's worth your time, and I think you'll have a few good laughs. I certainly did. I really liked the opening meet cute with the pants. That made me laugh out loud. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Peace.